Good morning. I am in Newcastle Station this morning, awaiting an early-ish morning service up to Edinburgh that changed to go to Perth. Yes, we're in Perth today. And we're here. We're in Perth. This is St John's Kirk in Perth in Scotland. And I'm going to show you some of the really interesting features on the outside, because when it comes to Carillons, this kirk has got a lot to offer. Alright, so first thing of note was that at St John's there was a set of bells that was installed far earlier than the 1930s Skeleton Johnson Carillon that we're going to see. And that's just in the little structure just above the clock face that you can see now. It's some of the remaining bells there. And we're currently climbing the steps to the ringing chamber. Whew. So while we're waiting for the quarter strike, I thought I'd show you the Clavia Chamber at St John's Kirk, because this has got some really cool, interesting features in here. So the quarter strike's just gone now. You can just hear the decay of the bells. Thought I'd just show you this. This is the old playing mechanism of the Carillon installed by Skeleton Johnson in the early 1930s. And what happens is that the bells, the clappers are connected to this machine through the levers. They're connected via the transmission rods here and they're fired by these actuators. This one's out of service now, but this is actually a very important part of the instrument. Okay, now equally what's important is this thing here. And I'll tell you what, I'm just going to try and move the broom. I'll open this for you. Okay. And this was, I can't open that door, but you can see it just there. This was the old sequencer that drove that machine over there. And this is a paper roll sequencer, again by Skeleton Johnson. What happened was, you fed paper rolls in, and the paper rolls had little punch outs. And depending on where the holes were punched and where they were sequenced, this could be interpreted by this machine. That was driven, the signals were interpreted by the playing mechanism, and in turn, you used to get a tune on the bells, which is absolutely fantastic. This is in beautiful condition, by the way. Okay, so just around the back, that's part of the old chiming sequencer. And you can see that the drum used to rotate round. It's got these pegs, which in turn connects onto these levers, which in turn moves the rods down, and it plays a corresponding set of bells. And finally, this is the Clavia for the Carillon. So the Carillon are Perth, St John's Kirk in Perth. It's 35 bells, so you'll notice it's 3 octaves, but you'll notice, referring a little bit to my first video, the 2 bottom semitones are missing. Now, what's really, really interesting about, let me just sit on the bench. What's really, really interesting about this Clavia is, because it was made by Gillett & Johnston, there's the maker's mark there, what was reasonably typical of Gillett & Johnston claviers was that each of the notes are lettered. And they also have a slightly narrow width. So when you're playing thirds, like that, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can actually do it like that, which is really cool. What's also really, really unique about this instrument is that, unlike places like York Minster, which have an octave and a half on the pedals, this only has 1 octave. So for me, it's a little bit easier to play because I am used to playing Newcastle, which has got the same pedal compass. And for me, the G, that one there, that's in the same place. This is a lovely instrument. So this is an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful instrument. Transposes in D. It's 35 bells. And the Borden, that one there, that's a special bell. That's 1.4, just over 1.4 metric tons. Let's have a quick look in the Belfry just now. And this is the Belfry Chamber and the Carillon cage at St John's Kirk. Now, I'm going to show you very briefly all of the elements in here. But what's really cool about this instrument is that all of the bells in here are Carillon bells. That one in particular, I'm going to tell you about that one in a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a very quick look at the bells in the cage. So there you've got some of the top ones there. And you've noticed a little bit like the Carillon at Newcastle, and you'll notice a lot of these bells have got 2 clappers on them. And that's because one is triggered by the Clavia that I've just shown you, and one is triggered by the earlier automatic playing mechanism. Now, we've also got, some of the bells have got hammers on the outside, and those ones there. And that actually forms part of the newer playing mechanism that was installed fairly recently. This is the transmission side of it. So obviously these cables, these rods here, are what go downstairs to the Clavia and play it in the normal way with the hands and your feet. It just shows you some of the beautifully built transmission assembly here. So that's the roller bar, and that's the actuating lever, and there's some of the bells there. So when we're in the playing chamber of the Perth Carillon, I have to give a special mention about this very, very special bell. Like I say, these are the bells from the 1930s disposition, made by Gillett and Johnston. And this one, that's one of the oldest bells I've played. That one was made by Peter Vaghaven in 1506. That is an incredibly old bell. Wonderful.